I, 42, think wife 40 might be cheating. Recently, I have been having some doubts about the fidelity of my wife, but I am not completely certain of what to do next. Since I do not have any concrete evidence, I am hesitant to confront her or bring up the issue, as there is a possibility that she may cover up any illicit activity or nothing might be going on at all. I have noticed several small changes in her behavior and have a feeling that something may be amiss. For instance, around 4 months ago, she began to spend more time working out and has become increasingly concerned with her appearance. While she is naturally attractive, she had never been someone who put much effort into her makeup or hair. Additionally, she has become more protective of her phone, which is usually a red flag. Although we have always had access to each other's phones, hers is now always by her side. And when I ask to use it for taking pictures, she insists on using my phone instead. She has also been working late more frequently and has been traveling out of town more frequently and has been traveling out of town more often for over the past 4 months. She has not initiated any physical intimacy, and the kisses that she gives me are just pecks. When I have tried to initiate, she has rejected me on several occasions, and on the occasions when she has let me proceed, she has not been engaged and just laid there. This has made me feel extremely undesirable and unwanted, even worse than if she had rejected me outright. I have previously brought up the issue of our lack of intimacy, and she attributed it to being exhausted from her responsibilities as a mother, her job, and her workout routine. She promised to make an effort to change, but unfortunately nothing has improved since then. Lately, I have been grappling with the possibility that my wife might be experiencing a midlife crisis of sorts. There is a man at her workplace who has caught my attention, and I believe he could be a source of trouble. Although my wife used to talk about him frequently, she stopped mentioning him a few months ago. However, I am aware that they still work closely together. To the best of my knowledge, he is married with children and confided in my wife that he is having issues in his marriage. I briefly met him on a couple of occasions, but he barely acknowledged me. We were among a group of people at the time. In terms of physical appearance, he is not nearly as attractive as I am, and he is a little overweight compared to me, who is big and strong. Not to boast, but it is true. However, he is outgoing, dresses flamboyantly, and enjoys drinking, which is something my wife has wished I would do more often. I, on the other hand, am not a big drinker. Additionally, he has a master's degree, makes significantly more money than I do, 6 times as much, and flaunts his wealth. I bring up these differences to give context to my concerns. The primary issue that has been bothering me is my wife's most recent work trip to a tropical resort-like location. Initially, I thought a large group from her company was going, but it turns out that only my wife, the flashy guy, and the CEO attended. The CEO is much older and prefers to keep things strictly business, with no social interaction. I can't help but wonder what my wife and the other guy did during that week alone together. My imagination runs wild with the possibilities. Although I do not have any concrete evidence that my wife is cheating, these recent events have caused me to question our relationship. I am uncertain of what to do next, as I do not want to make any accusations or confront her without solid proof. At the same time, I do not want to ignore these warning signs and regret it later. It's weighing heavily on my mind that my intuition might be pointing towards infidelity on my wife's part, but I'm hesitant to confront her and cause any unnecessary rifts in our relationship. Despite some minor bumps along the way, we've generally had a stable and fulfilling marriage. However, I recognize that my reserved personality and comparatively lower income may be a source of dissatisfaction for my wife. She's expressed her belief that I'm capable of achieving more financial success in a different career. But the truth is that fighting and training fighters is all I know and love. The only other potential avenue is being a personal trainer, but that doesn't necessarily translate into significant earnings. I don't want to paint my wife as solely motivated by money, but I do acknowledge that financial security is an important consideration for many women. Nonetheless, besides these issues, it appears that she's content with our relationship. One of my friends recently suggested that I keep my suspicions about my wife to myself and start collecting evidence to confirm them, if any exists. However, the idea of invading my wife's privacy makes me feel uncomfortable. If my wife is indeed cheating on me, I don't think I could continue to stay in the relationship. Unfortunately, thoughts of her being unfaithful are beginning to plague my mind, and I feel compelled to find out the truth, no matter the outcome. As a father of 2 kids, the thought of potentially losing half of their time with me terrifies me. I am heavily involved in every aspect of my children's lives, and I couldn't bear to miss out on any of it. I apologize for the lengthy post, but I would greatly appreciate any advice or ideas on how to handle this situation. Update. Here's the latest update. Recently, I managed to obtain the login details for our cell phone account. My wife frequently uses her phone for work, so at first everything appeared to be normal until I started to sift through the call logs and text messages. I noticed an unusually high number of texts to a specific number, often sent late at night, sometimes just a few hours after we went to bed. I'm determined to find out who that number belongs to, and I plan to gain access to her phone to check under what name it's saved. As soon as I saw this, I felt a range of emotions: anger, disappointment, and sadness. I tried to convince myself that it could be a mistake or a close female friend of hers. Last night, I initiated physical intimacy with my wife, fully anticipating being rejected, and that's exactly what happened. She told me she was sorry but too tired and had a headache. I opened up about how I was feeling disconnected from her, and she promised to try to do better. However, she's made this promise before, so I didn't push the issue and merely wished her a good night's sleep. The next morning, my wife informed me that she was contemplating going on a girls' trip to Las Vegas, even though she doesn't gamble. She mentioned that she would be going with a few college friends whom I have never met. Maybe everything is just a coincidence, but a lot of things seem strange to me. Update. I, 42, think wife, 40, might be cheating. In the original post, I explained that I have had suspicions about my wife cheating on me for a while now. After looking at detailed cell phone records online, I discovered that she had sent hundreds of texts to one number in the middle of the night. I called the number from a payphone, and it turned out to be one of her coworkers, who I had suspected might be trouble. When I was able to get my wife's phone while she was in the shower, I found that the text conversation had been deleted and the guy's number was saved under a female's name. This has made me very concerned about the out-of-town trips she took with him. I had to leave the house to calm down and was eventually able to return, but I don't know what to do next. If I confront her, I am afraid she will make excuses for what happened. I am not sure if I should try to gather more evidence or come forward sooner. I am extremely angry and feel like going after the guy, but I know that's not the right approach. I am worried that if I confront her, she may only admit to flirting, and I won't have enough evidence to get her to confess to everything. I am seeking advice on when the best time to confront her might be. My plan is to stay awake during the time she texts him and then interrupt her to ask her who she is texting to see if she lies to me. Update 2. I, 42, think wife, 40, might be cheating. Last night, I decided to lay in wait. After everyone had gone to bed, I pretended to be asleep and waited to see if my wife would get up to use her phone. To my dismay, she got up a little after midnight and headed to another room, shutting the door behind her. I waited a few minutes and then got up quickly, opening the door and walking up to her. I asked her what she was doing, pretending that I couldn't sleep. I caught her mid-text and was standing over her before she could delete anything. I watched as she slowly tried to tuck her phone away, saying that she couldn't sleep and was texting a girlfriend. I had a plan in mind and decided to put it into action. I climbed on top of her and started kissing her, asking if she wanted to fool around. As I had anticipated, she declined. I started tickling her and jokingly mentioned that she must be more interested in the girlfriend she was texting than me. Then I started playfully wrestling with her and managed to take her phone. I could see the panic in her eyes as she tried to get it back from me, but I held it up in the air as if playing keep away. I laughed and acted like I was having fun the whole time. I told her that I was going to call this girlfriend and ask if she was interested in my wife, which made my wife plead with me not to call. I walked away from her and pulled up the text messages, seeing one that said, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow." I hit the call button and waited what felt like an eternity, but eventually, the guy answered. I hadn't planned what to say, so I simply hung up. Then, I started reading through the texts in front of my wife and asked her whether she thought it was her girlfriend or a guy who had replied. She didn't say anything. I began reading the texts out loud, asking why she was sending them to a guy at night. She replied that she didn't know. I asked her if there was anything she needed to tell me. She remained silent. Then I told her that I had checked the cell phone records and knew everything. I knew when she would wake up to text this guy and who he was. She started crying and apologizing, and I managed to keep my cool throughout the ordeal. Last night's events were carefully planned out in my head beforehand. As my wife was playing along with my tickling and laughing, I was secretly recording everything with my phone, just in case she tried to accuse me of anything later on. I made sure to check with a friend to ensure that recording in our state was legal, and I was assured that it was. Though I don't believe my wife would ever falsely accuse me of anything if things escalate and we do end up splitting up, she may get desperate and try to make unfounded allegations against me. As an ex-fighter and current trainer of fighters, I know that any accusation of abuse would not be believed, and I would risk getting arrested and losing custody of my children. That's why I am now planning to record everything as an insurance policy going forward. However, last night was still a turning point in our relationship. During our conversation, my wife admitted to flirting with her coworker and that it never went any further than that. But I knew I couldn't just accept her partial truth. I gave her an ultimatum. She needed to tell me the entire truth or leave the house. She ended up leaving for her mom's house and has been blowing up my phone ever since, but I turned it off. My plan now is to find a marriage counselor and make an appointment. I want to make it seem like I want to work things out, but in reality, I'm just going to counseling to get advice on how to proceed with the divorce. Right now, I am experiencing intense heartbreak as my family has been completely shattered. I am devastated at the thought of missing out on 50s of my children's lives as they grow up. Although I had my suspicions about my wife's infidelity, the reality of the situation has hit me like a ton of bricks. The worst part is that this is only the beginning. I am tempted to confront the other men involved, but I know I need to restrain myself. From what I've heard, he was terrified when he first saw me and referred to me as the animal in one of the texts. This hurt me deeply because my lack of formal education and income should not define my intelligence or worth as a person. I am intellectually curious and enjoy reading books about a wide range of topics. While I may not be the smartest person, I certainly do not consider myself to be stupid. As things progress, I will try to provide updates. However, at this moment, I am not sure what advice I can receive. My emotions are raw, and I am struggling to come to terms with the situation. Update at 3. I, 42, think wife 40, might be cheating. I am grateful for all the support I've received during this difficult time, and I apologize for not responding sooner. Since my last update, my friend who is an attorney was able to recommend a family law specialist who has personal experience with infidelity and is motivated to seek revenge on behalf of his clients. He's also willing to work with me on his fees, which is a small silver lining in this whole mess. On the other hand, my wife has finally admitted to the affair. At first, she claimed it was just flirting and emotional, but after some prodding, she eventually revealed that it became physical. The details she provided were graphic and overwhelming, and I'm struggling to process my emotions. I asked her to stay with her mother for now, so I can take care of our children and provide them with stability. My attorney has advised me that it's an advantage to be the one still living in the family home, and he's working hard behind the scenes to prepare for what's to come. I haven't yet told my wife that our marriage is over, but she will find out soon enough when she's served with divorce papers. I am still struggling with intrusive thoughts of my wife's infidelity with this other man. However, I am trying to stay busy and focused on my coaching job in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, giving my fighters as much attention as possible. The physical aspect of my work seems to be helping me cope a bit better. Additionally, I am pouring all my love and energy into my kids, trying to provide them with as much stability as possible during this difficult time. Normally, reading books is my way of unwinding after a long day, but lately, I find it difficult to concentrate on even a single paragraph without my mind wandering to the painful memories. My wife and her lover referred to me as a stupid animal, and I can't help but wonder what else they might have said about me. All of this has taken a toll on me, and I feel like the joy in my life has vanished. Despite all of this, I am grateful for the support of my friends and acquaintances who have come forward to offer help in any way possible. A number of my friends' wives have even offered to set me up with beautiful women, but I know that I am not ready to date until this is all over and my heart has had time to heal. For now, my sole focus is on my children and getting through this difficult time. I will try to keep everyone updated on my progress. My wife is still trying to convince me to stay married, but I know in my heart that I cannot forgive her infidelity. Staying together would only delay the inevitable, and it's not fair to either of us or our children. Update of 4. I, 42, think wife 40, might be cheating. It has been a chaotic time for me and my family, but I wanted to provide an update on my situation. As previously mentioned, I found out about my wife's affair and her disrespectful comments towards me. It was a difficult decision, but I filed for divorce and it will be finalized next month. Despite the legal situation being settled, the emotional fallout has been difficult to deal with. My heart is broken, and my children are also struggling to cope with the situation. Becoming a single father was never something I expected or wanted, but I'm doing my best to support my children through this difficult time. Meanwhile, my wife seems to be struggling with her own issues. After her affair partner left her, she started drinking and going out with random guys she met online. There have been several instances where she has reached out to me begging for me to take her back and return to our old life. Although part of me wanted to believe that was possible, I knew deep down that it wasn't realistic. As the divorce proceedings continued, and she learned that she would be paying spousal support due to her higher income, her attitude towards me has become increasingly hostile.
I don't have to worry about her calling me more, as she seems to be directing her anger towards me instead.
I have been struggling to cope with the aftermath of my divorce and the impact it has had on my relationship with my children. It's difficult to see them go, even for a short period of time, and I feel a sense of emptiness when they're not with me. I've been feeling lonely a lot lately and haven't been able to bring myself to socialize much. Even the barista at my regular coffee shop noticed something was off and asked me about it. While there are people who have offered to set me up with someone new, I'm hesitant because I feel like my reputation as the guy whose wife cheated on him is a major turnoff. The only time I felt any sense of accomplishment or joy lately was when some of my fighters did well in a public competition. Otherwise, I've been struggling to motivate myself to do much of anything. I know that at some point I need to move on, but right now it feels impossible. One thing that did give me a sense of satisfaction was when someone I know reached out to the other guy's wife and showed her the evidence I had of their affair. It was important to me that he face some kind of consequence for what he did, even if I wasn't able to go after him myself. At first, she didn't believe it, but later I heard that they were having major problems in their marriage. Despite this, I still feel a lot of anger over the situation. It's unbelievable how quickly life can take a turn for the worse. Despite everything that has happened, there has been a glimmer of hope in my life recently. I've met a girl through some mutual friends who I find incredibly attractive, although she is about 14 years younger than me. I haven't made a move or asked her out yet, partly because of the age gap, and partly because my confidence has taken a hit after what I've been through. I can't help but feel like she's out of my league, but I can't stop thinking about her. Looking back on the past 6 months, it's safe to say that it has been the darkest and most difficult period of my life. I used to be a happy person, but now I feel like I'm constantly surrounded by darkness and gloom. Update 5. I, 42, think wife, 40, might be cheating. I haven't been on Reddit in a very long time. I logged in and saw that there were some people asking for updates to my situation, so I thought I would let everybody know that I am doing well. To sum it up, I went through a divorce after discovering my wife's infidelity with a coworker, and it was a major life adjustment after being together for 15 years. Despite feeling occasional sadness or loss, I generally feel great now that my kids are doing well and spending a lot of time with me. The divorce led to my ex-wife having to take on more work accounts to support herself and pay me spousal support, as she earned more than I did. When the pandemic hit, I had a flexible schedule that allowed me to homeschool the kids, since my job required physical contact with others and had slowed down due to the pandemic. So, in a way, I became a stay-at-home dad. After my divorce, I took some time to focus on myself and heal from the pain. During that time, I was interested in a younger woman who was away on a work assignment in Europe. We stayed in touch via technology, and when she returned, we began dating. I have to say, she is amazing. She is compassionate, considerate, and truly loves me and my kids. I was told before we met that she resembled Wonder Woman and was the kindest person you could ever meet, and that turned out to be absolutely true. I feel like our relationship is progressing, and we may be taking the next step soon. I am so grateful to have her in my life. Despite the challenges posed by the pandemic, I am happy to report that everything is going well in my life. Looking back, I am glad I ended my previous marriage instead of prolonging the inevitable. Although it was a tough decision, it was the right one for me. After that, I just kept moving forward, even if it was just a little bit every day. I knew that if I kept pushing, eventually I would come out on the other side. For anyone else who may be going through something similar, my advice is to focus on the long term. You will likely experience a range of negative emotions, such as devastation, sadness, depression, and hopelessness, but it is important to keep pushing forward. Exercise can be a great outlet for stress and can help improve your mood. Additionally, I found that working on a new skill every day helped me to feel more productive and motivated. For example, I started making short films featuring the guys I train, which allowed me to learn more about videography and editing. Reading books on various topics also helped me gain new knowledge and skill. Remember that even small actions can add up over time, so it is important to keep putting in the effort and to be patient with yourself. After the divorce, my ex-wife's life has been filled with troubles. She's been resorting to drinking and engaging with strangers on online dating sites. On top of that, her work has become more demanding, which is adding to her stress levels. When I saw her recently, she appeared exhausted and drained of energy, which was quite a contrast to her previous confident and put-together demeanor. It's hard to comprehend how someone can let a fling destroy their life in such a way. Her best friend confided in me that my ex has become difficult to be around and is unhappy with her current situation. It's a sad situation for me to witness, and I hope that she will eventually find peace and happiness. Interestingly, her friend also told me that my ex never believed I would leave her after the affair, likely due to her high income, which she thought gave her control over me. But the consequences of her infidelity were not what she had expected. Despite everything, I hope that she will be able to find a way to rebuild her life for the sake of our children.